tools here, various brushes and other tools that I personally use when making the artwork that suits me. I just want to start with the brushes first. Obviously packs like this are for very fine work, all available in the shops or online. Sound like a shopping channel. These brushes are acrylic brushes, so you can get specific brushes and you can see how thin they are. These are really good for doing edging, etc. And I find them really great for detailed stuff. If you look at the different styles, some have got chamfered edges, etc. Some for fanning. What you find when you buy these new in a pack, they come quite stiff, but don't worry about it. It's just a lacquer they put on to protect it. Once you brush it through and wet it a bit, it will become nice and soft. But it's important to keep the edges quite tight on those. So that's acrylic brushes. In this pot I've got my larger stuff for doing backgrounds, big work. I'm not going to bore you with that. Finer brushes, varying sizes, and again. But I also use quite other alternative brushes. These are really good brushes, DIY for painting, and they are really good when you're doing background, skies, things like that. So we've got some quite big ones there, and again from the local DIY. These type of brushes are quite available and relatively cheap. I'm going to look at some palette knives now. These are my favourite palette knives. Again, you can buy these in packs. You can see this one's actually bent. That's from the constant use. This is the one that I use the most, I suppose, when I'm doing acrylic work that I lay on quite thickly. And again, they vary in sizes and they go up. You can get bigger ones than that as well. I've got some somewhere up there that are bigger, but without boring you, there you go. Other tools I use, this is for putting grout, etc. into tiles. Same again on this one. This one's quite big, but getting really useful when edging, when doing things like buildings, trees, etc. for just getting the edge, and we'll see that in later tutorials on the acrylic paint, and just forming an edge. Edge line works really well. But don't be afraid. This is another tool that's just a flat piece of plastic basically. And again, that's for doing your grouting, etc. But again, comes in great when you're doing big heavy work, or you want to get fine lines onto your painting. Palettes. These are ones I use. These are wooden. I'm going to put that down so you can get a full view of it. You see it's been well used. You can buy these. They do come in packs and the wood, and you might want bigger or you might want smaller ones. But as you can see, that one and this one here, quite well worn. And what I do at the end of the day, which you'll see in future tutorials, is scrape them clean, wash them down, ready for the next day's use. A couple of brushes here I didn't mention. Again, these are more specialist. System free, Danaroni Skyflow. Says it in the title really, doesn't it? It's very soft and great for getting fine skies completed. Similar to this one. Where is it? Here we go. Synthetic Hair, artdiscount.co.uk, which I'm plugging now. because they really are good suppliers. And again, very, very soft. Lovely and soft for getting fine drifts across. Can I have a look at some canvases now? Because a lot of people are starting to ask about where they start. Now, as you can see, let me just pull out. This is the easel I use. Now this is quite tall, quite sturdy, and I think this one costs about 87, 85, up to £90. They are worth the money, believe me. When I first started, I bought a number of tripod type easels that were quite light, and if that's what's good for you, that's fine. And if you're doing light work or waterwork, watercolours, they are really good for the smaller, lighter work. But I find with the type of work I do, I wanted a strong easel, and this is my second. The first one lasted about 10 years. So they're worth paying the money, and you can adjust them to whichever level and height, obviously. So that's the easels. Worth investing in a good one. Canvases. Again, college chunky canvases. These are available online. And some of the canvases I use, as you can see if I step back, are quite large. Don't be afraid to go big. Just a quick zoom around the studio. So on to paints. Again, people have been asking, where do we start, what do we use? I'm going to highlight a number of paints that are available to you. These ones, again, aren't discount. You can buy these online, but you can buy big tubs at The Works, The Range, Hobbycraft, and again, for background work, they're fine, and they're really accessible and quite cheap, to be quite frank. So if you want to get your basic colours, they're brilliant. These ones, again, these tubes are at The Range, and they're always doing offers. 2 for a £5, etc, etc. And they're your sort of cheaper end range. You then come on to things like Greaves and Winsor and Newton. These are more expensive, but you get what you pay for. More colour definition, they tend to be better quality, and for finishing, they're the type of things I use. Again, Reeves. There's so many paints out there, guys. I could spend a day just taking you through different paint systems. Dollar and Rowley, System 3. Again, these are all acrylics. I like acrylics personally because you get a smashing colour range. You can use them as watercolours by just watering them down. You can apply them straight to the canvas with palette knives or with brushes. You can do Van Gogh style where your paint's very thick, or you can water them down. They're very, very versatile and really widely available now. So they are a great option to use. Just a different variety. This is a lovely one for purple, and just another make. You then go on to, dare I say, the more expensive range. Dollar and Rowley again. Where am I? Sorry. But again, you get some great colours. Pale gold. Acrylic paint. These last quite a long time as well, so they don't tend to go off. I've had some of these a few years, and sometimes they do dry out, but generally 90% of them you can keep for 2 to 3 years. Some lovely colours, olive green, Winsor and Newton. Copper. This is a great colour, this one. cobalt turquoise, and this is another make, Liquitex acrylic turquoise, deep turquoise. And some of the colours you see coming out of them, if I can open it with one hand. Oh, there we go. Don't know if you can see that. But anyway, they are smashing. Really good to use. And a wide variety for you to use. Going back to canvases, quickly you can get, in fact I should have showed you this earlier, but these, and this is one I've been practicing drawing on, are simply, if you look down the edge, canvas boards. And again, you can get a pack of 2 of these from the works, quite large. I think this one is one from the works, and they're 2 for £5. Brilliant to start with. Now what you'll find with canvases, does it say on here? As you can see on this one, it says for use with acrylic or oil paints, double primed, medium grain, 100% cotton. So by priming, what they say is they laid 2 coats of white primer on top of that canvas prior to you starting. In the old days, you used to stretch your own canvases on a wooden frame, and then you'd prime it just white or a base colour, just to make the surface a bit smoother, if that makes sense, and makes the paint more easier to apply, is the word I'm looking for. So again, this one, we'll say again, it should say on there somewhere, I'm trying to look, that it's pre-primed. If it isn't, I'd put a coat on yourself. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Now with these now, for those that want to paint on black, you can actually order black canvases. So they're pre-primed with black paint. So that's quite unusual. I've done quite a few on black backgrounds, and they, when you use them vibrant colours, they look spectacular. And it's nice to know now, rather than spend, you know, an hour priming the canvas with black, doing another coat. It would take me a morning to get a canvas ready just to start painting on. Now they come pre-primed in black and you can crack straight on. So that's some of the tools that we've got. The paints, I have quite a lot in my paint store. I've got more in the boxes. So what I've shown you today is just the tip of the iceberg as far as paints and as far as tools are concerned. But I hope it gives you some idea into what you would need to get started. There's a number of starter packs, for example, acrylic paints that you can buy in packs, starter packs for brushes, etc., that you think, well, let's have a go. Don't forget, you're always going to need your water, but I'll mention that in future tutorials. These, stand back, these painter and decorator plastic pots are very cheap, and they're brilliant for, you know, for when you're painting. Put your brushes in, clean them, keep them in water. And I always use something, make sure you've got a number of rags ready. But if you can see that, let me put this down somewhere. That's just a plastic aerial tub that I use when I'm using acrylic paints. And as you clean off the palette knife or your brush and the excess paint, it all tends to dry out. It says here we are. and that builds up over a period of time, and then I'll peel it off and stick it in the bin. But it's quite cathartic is the word. So that's a bit of an introduction. Your canvases, order some online, just get canvas boards. Brilliant to start with. Your paints, a massive variety of paints there. Don't have to spend a fortune. Brushes we've already mentioned. And the other tools, and that's, like I say, a bit of a tip of the iceberg, but you can use your hands, your fingers, to be quite frank, when you're painting, and a lot of people do. So I hope that's been useful, and I'll see you next time.